The days are longer, the calendar is filling up, and I want to feel as good as this beautiful summer weather. That's why I've been loving Groons. It's one daily pack of gummies that covers my greens, vitamins, and minerals, and even has 6 grams of prebiotic fiber. So I don't need to juggle a complicated wellness routine on top of everything else. They taste amazing. They're easy to toss in my bag on the go. Plus, they're vegan, gluten free, and HSA, FSA eligible for reimbursement. Save up to 52% off with promo code podcast at gruns.co. That's code podcast at gruns.co.
Welcome back to TalkNorth.com. Thank you for listening. If you can, please download before you listen. It helps our business. I'd also like to thank our producer, Brandon Morton, and let you know if you'd like to sponsor this program or any of the programs on the network. You can reach me at jsouhan47@gmail.com. Breaking news, Michael Russo went to the biggest Starbucks in the world, which I think mathematically means he must have drank more coffee than anybody else who's ever lived. It just makes sense to me. We'll get the breakdown from Michael here shortly on the Russo-Souhan show, which is basically the Michael Russo show. Michael is the star reporter for The Athletic, a former colleague of mine at the Star Tribune. This is our podcast network, TalkNorth.com. Please follow us on Twitter at TalkNorthPod. We'll have some new announcements in the new year, some new shows to show off. We just added a Gopher show. Check that out. That'll be on all Gopher Sports. And subscribe on your favorite podcast app, or just go to TalkNorth.com to find all of our stuff. Thank you to our sponsors, Twill in the Dining Galleria. New sponsor, Grey Duck Vodka. That's Chad Greenway's company, and a really cool company at that. Tin Shed MN, our next, tinshedmn.com. Our next live show would be December 30th at 7 p.m. at Tin Shed. Come out. It'll be a great time. Fixology Repair and Tony Hoagland, your State Farm agent in Champlin. All right, before we get to hockey, tell me what it was like for you to go to the biggest Starbucks in the world.
Yeah, like kid in a candy store, as the old cliche says. Felt like it's definitely the Disney World of coffee stores. 5 stories, right by the downtown Marriott in Chicago, right there on Michigan on the Magnificent Mile, and it was just awesome. I mean, first of all, you go up and it's kind of intimidating because there's like 200 people in line, but they let in like 30, 40 people at once, it felt like. And walk in there, and bottom floor is just, kind of places to buy gifts, but roasts and all sorts of beans and things like that. Then you go upstairs, and they've got the roastery where the baristas are making stuff in test tubes and all that stuff. So I went with my colleagues from the Star Tribune, the Pioneer Press. Sarah, who doesn't drink coffee, she wasn't long for the place. But Dane and I sat down and had a couple flights each of hot coffee and cold coffee. And needless to say, I don't think either of us slept before our 6 a.m. flights to Vegas the next day. It was a heart palpitating day. Spent a lot of money there. Bought a couple of gift sets. Bought a bag of Ethiopian beans. That honestly was the best coffee that I've ever had in my life. And it just it was a fun time. Probably something I'll never do again because it is absolutely a tourist trap. It's not like your normal Starbucks, but it was cool. It reminded me, it's a lesser version. I don't know if you've been to the one in Dallas, right by the Ritz-Carlton there, and the what's it called, Crescent Court. But it's they've got one of those reserve roasteries there, and it's pretty neat watching these baristas put together these concoctions of coffee, and you sit there and have different types of coffee that you've never had any other Starbucks, and it was just absolutely awesome.
I would have liked this story better if you'd carried your holiday coffee cup into the Starbucks.
Well, I will say this, that I did walk to the Starbucks drinking a Starbucks.
Of course you did.
Yeah, I got one at the hotel right after I checked in, and as I guzzled it down, Damon Zatati met me at my hotel, and we walked down there, the Pioneer Press writer, and I was finishing that Starbucks as we walked to the other Starbucks. So Typical.
Yes, typical. I was just in Seattle, and my wife and I went to the original Starbucks, which we always do when we're in Seattle, and it's so funny, Michael. It's like we tend to rise fairly early, so we got there fairly early in the morning, and it's a very tiny shop, so it's always a little crowded just because there's not much space. But we walked in, we waited 5 minutes, got our coffee, left, and we walked back later, and there was like a line of 100 people.
Yeah, no, I mean it's nuts. I haven't been to the one in Seattle, the roastery there. I've been to the first ever one. I'm looking forward to kind of exploring Seattle more than I've ever really had a chance to. Just once the NHL arrives there in a couple of years, as long as I'm still alive.
We're gonna have to hook you up some, Berry Coffee sponsors the Roy Smalley show on the network, and I drink. That's all I drink anymore. We're gonna have to introduce you some some Bull Run blend or some French roast that they make, because it's fantastic, and they roast it right here in town, so it's always fresh. I know you're a Starbucks guy, but we might have to change that. Anyway, let's get on to some hockey here. Big game in Phoenix. The Wild scores 8 goals. I saw on your feed that the Wild ranks third in the NHL in 5-on-5 goals. Is that a sign that this team and this season might be better off than we thought?
Well, I mean, they definitely 5-on-5. They've been really good this year. The one area that they do need to shore up is defensively. I think that is one area where the goaltenders have struggled is 5-on-5, and that's skewed the numbers there. But I think they've given up the 8th or 9th most 5-on-5 goals in the league in 70. I think it's 76. Their PK has really struggled the last month. They've given up 14 goals in the last 15 games, which is just unbelievable. Frankly, their power play needs work. So 5-on-5 scoring is the reason why this team is still afloat right now. If their special teams can improve and they can keep their 5-on-5 up, this team actually looks like it has a chance to do something pretty good this year. Now they've just got to overcome all these injuries, Jim. I mean, these are major ones. Jason Zucker will probably be gone till after the All-Star break, because that's what I'm hearing today. I think there's going to be news that comes out later today, but he has a very significant injury that I think is going to require some repair. Mikko Koivu has missed the last 8 games with a lower body injury. Don't know what that is. Just watching him walk, it really looks to me like maybe, and this is total speculation and conjecture, but that maybe, as we often see from guys coming back from ACL injuries, is that essentially you compensate your skating stride and it eventually affects other things. And I have a feeling that's what he's dealing with now. And then I've got to think Eriksson Ek has some sort of concussion or something from the hit from Couturier the other night. So they're out 3 forwards. The Zucker one looks like the most serious, and they're going to have to continue to play well. But last night was just an exciting game. I mean, sometimes what makes exciting games is poor goaltending, and Darcy Kemper. Like I just don't know how Darcy Kemper's numbers, and I think he's going to be out with a major injury now. He got hurt with 3 minutes left when Rick Tocchet somehow kept him in when it looked like he couldn't stop a beach ball. I mean, the Wilder on him could have made it 8 2 or 3 times after he gave up his 7th, and for some reason Darcy was still in the game. And it's very costly because one of the best goalies in the league this year is now out with what looked to be a serious injury, Jim. But Kemper, I just don't. I mean, to me, it's like that last night was the Darcy Kemper that I covered. He's just mentally, he just loses himself. And I just don't understand how his numbers have been so good this year because the Wild have seen him twice and he was bad in both games. And last night he was so bad. I said on the first and second goal that if the Wild kept on shooting, that they would beat him, that he looked shakier than heck. And I tweeted it early and he wound up giving up the most goals he's given up in years in 7 goals. So, but last night was exciting watching them all flying around. It was an entertaining game to watch. That's for sure.
As soon as the new year passes, I'm going to get out to Twill and do a new commercial and buy myself some stuff. For you, the listener, I would highly recommend going there to buy Christmas presents because people will know that you bought them something of quality, something that will last, something that's pretty impressive, and something that's incredibly comfortable, no matter whether you're buying the high-end stuff or you're just buying, corduroys or jeans or whatever else. You can buy anything you need at Twill. Check them out at twillmn.com or on Instagram at twilledina. I'm here with my wife, Stacy. We went to Twill in the Edina Galleria the other day. We saw Scott Dayton, and I bought the nicest sport jacket I've ever owned the most comfortable pants I've ever owned. They're Brax. A nice pair of loafers that I can wear to the ballpark. I think they're called Tracks. And I bought a bunch of Stenstrom short sleeve shirts to go with my Stenstrom nice dress shirts. And, I used to wear just disposable clothes. Now when I buy something, I buy it at Twill. I know it's going to last me the rest of my life and it's going to be comfortable.
And on top of that, it's not just the best stuff you've ever had, but it's really everyday things that you can wear and that will fit all occasions.
Twill in the Edina Galleria, twillmn.com, Twill on Instagram.
Any other injury updates? You mentioned the forwards. Anybody else you're keeping an eye on right now? No, Spurgeon came back last night. Dubnyk came back last night. I will be interested to see the Winnipeg game right now because the Wild they canceled practice today and are flying home this morning. And they have a 1 p.m. game tomorrow, meaning Saturday, for the Winnipeg game. So you're going to have no morning skate. So the question that I have is Alex Stalock is probably scheduled to start that game, but he is sick. And he backed up last night, but he didn't skate yesterday. And he's not skating today, and he won't have a morning skate tomorrow. So does that mean Boudreau might have to change his mind and come back with Dubnyk, who obviously, even though I thought he had a great start last night, he tired as the game got on and didn't look as good. And now he won't have a practice today or morning skate tomorrow. So tomorrow's game against Winnipeg after a long road trip is going to be a tough one with no morning skate, no practice today, and two goalies, one that's hasn't played a lot and the other who hasn't been on the ice because of illness. So it'll be interesting to see what happens tomorrow against the Jets.
So just take us through what Dubnyk has been through. I know that we're all being very cautious about his situation. So I'll just leave it open to you to say as much as you want to about what he's going through.
First of all, as usual, it's just, like when Bob Mason talked to me about his wife passing away and Tom Curvis sat down with me to talk about when he was first diagnosed with cancer. It's humbling that Devin would sit down with me the other night in Chicago and talk about his situation. Now we're still, I'm going to respect their privacy. The only thing that I didn't report in the story was exactly what Jen Dubnyk is dealing with right now. It is something that's serious and ongoing, and it's going to, it might even cause him to be away from the team a little bit in January because there's going to be something that she's going to have to deal with. But right now, it has been a stressful month for them. He came back the night of Buffalo. Thank God he was home. But he walked into his bedroom and found Jen in the middle of a medical situation, a medical episode or between medical episodes. And luckily was aware of it and not sleeping himself. And he immediately called an ambulance and rushed her to the hospital. And it's been just crazy ever since. He said that the poor girl's been poked and prodded 30 or 40 times with needles, trying to figure out exactly what's going on. And it's been really stressful. Obviously, they have 3 young kids. Luckily, Jen's mom flew in from Edmonton to spend the last month with the family. So Devin's had help. He really is appreciative of all the support he's gotten from his teammates to his friends and family to his neighbors. He said the street that he lives on is just a godsend. His next door neighbor to the left, the ones across the street, have been huge help taking care of the kids, driving because Jen's not going to be able to drive for a long time now. And it's allowed him to at least feel comfortable that he was able to get on the road and feel the sensation of a win again. And if you haven't read the story that I wrote in The Athletic, if you're not a subscriber, theathletic.com/ straight from the source or / I know Russo will get you in for 40% off. You can read that story. Also, the NHL, theathletic.com / NHL free trial will actually give you 7 days of free Athletic, which you can cancel. So if you haven't read it, I highly recommend you read it because the quotes are really heartfelt. And last night, I don't know if you saw the video, Jim, but it was really touching. And it just, it just says everything. Like Marcus Foligno, it's pretty interesting. It's like I remember when Shep Harder signed Marcus Foligno, and everybody was like, "What? 4 years of 2.85 or 2.75?" This guy has turned into a great player on the ice, but this guy is like captain material. You can see he's the son of Mike Foligno. Longtime captain and coach in the NHL, is the brother of Nick Foligno, the captain of the Columbus Blue Jackets. This guy's got oozes leadership quality. He made the hit of the game last night that in Bruce's mind was the difference in the game. And then after the game, Eric Stahl, which he did, rightfully, Eric Stahl handed the hero of the game helmet. Basically, the way it works is the hero of the game from each game it goes and gives the helmet to the next guy. So the last hero of the game after their last win was Eric Stahl after the game against Philadelphia. So last night he gives it to Marcus Foligno, justifiably. I mean, Marcus was unbelievable. Goal, 2 assists, +2, 5 shots, 7 hits in the game.
Big hit.
Yeah, huge hit. And then Marcus stands up and walks across the locker room. It's on video on the Minnesota Wild Twitter account, and says, we're a family in here. We wanted to win this for you, Devin. And he hands the helmet to Devin. And Devin gives him a big embrace and then gives a little funny speech and how much he wanted to win the game. And it just, it's kind of what I've been saying on this podcast and what we've been writing for a long time this year is that this team has really melded together after clear friction the last couple of years between some players. And I give Billy Guerin a lot of credit and Craig Leopold. Bill Guerin and Craig Leopold met individually with almost every single player before the season, took them to lunch, said, gave them a voice, wanted to know what's been wrong with the team, really impressed upon them how important it was from a guy that's won many cups, how important it was for this team to be close, to not be individuals, to worry about the guy next to him. And then he did it again during a speech that was on Wild.com during training camp. They this was Bruce Boudreau's idea, but they bring him to Vail. Bruce brings in somebody that he had seen at his son's graduation from graduate school, his teenage son, by the way, which just shows you how brilliant Brady is. He sees this guy. He's inspired by this guy. They bring him to Vail. He pumps the team up. Obviously, they got off to a tough start. They bring him to New York again, where he's based about 3 weeks ago, and he talks to him again. And it just seems like I'm in this locker room every day, and it just seems like this is the closest that I've seen this team in a long, long time. And this isn't just because they're winning. This has been for all season long. And so I think yesterday was a good. I like that the Wild are doing this. I mean, this is stuff that none of us would ever get to see, what goes on in the locker room after a win. And they do this after every single game. Dusty and Brandon, they're 2 videographers. They put this together. And last night was a great indication that fans never get to see of an intimate moment in the locker room with everybody around the locker room, the hero of the game helmet being given to Foligno, and Foligno standing up and being the leader that he is. And giving it to Dubnyk. It really was a touching moment, and I think it says everything about what's going on with this team right now.
I have a follow-up on the Dubnyk situation. I want to get more into that and answer some Twitter questions. I want to thank Grey Duck Vodka, our newest sponsor. Grey Duck, Gray, duckspirits.com, grayduckspirits.com if you want to check out what they have to offer. Homegrown vodka made from the fields of the Midwest. And as someone who covered Chad Greenway for a long time and really enjoyed covering him and getting to talk to him on a personal level, it's a blast to be working with him again.
When we asked you to get the duck out, wow, did you respond? Grey Duck Vodka is now in over 1,500 locations and expanding every day. This is Chad Greenway, and I just want to say thank you for making Grey Duck Minnesota's vodka. With the wonderful ingredients from Minnesota farmers, Grey Duck is gluten-free and has won 3 gold medals for taste. For all upcoming events and a list of locations carrying Grey Duck, head to grayduckspirits.com.
Please drink responsibly. Grey Duck Spirits, LLC, Lakeville, Minnesota.
Get the duck out.
One more note on the Dubnyk thing. As you're talking about it, it brought me back to my son when he was very young, had a viral infection in his neck. It was called a thyroglosal duct cyst. Mm-hmm. And we rushed him to the hospital. His neck swelled up. And
wow.
What really the hardest thing about it was the doctor, they did a bunch of tests, and then they were like, it shrugged, and they were like, oh, it's viral. What does that mean? Well, it means we have to wait for the infection to go down before you do anything about it. Okay, but you don't know how to fix the virus? No, we don't know how to. It's like not knowing and not being able to take action that could lead to a good result. I mean, it was the most maddening thing and heartbreaking thing because you felt like you were just completely helpless. I'm sure Devin is feeling that way now.
Yeah, and I'm sure his wife, who's the one that's dealing with this. Obviously we're the one, I'm covering Devin, so that's kind of the one where it's sort of become the story, which is always a little uncomfortable because it's his wife dealing with this medical issue. The good news is, again, without giving away too much, because I really want to respect their privacy. But Devin said this in the story, is that they really feel like they have a good plan, that they've diagnosed what the issue is, and that there's a treatment for it, even though that for the rest of her life, she's probably going to have to be on some sort of medication treatment for it, but that they've figured out what it is and how they can maybe fix it. And, there's still a road to be taken here. But I'm sure, I know it's sometimes trite and cliche, but it's good to see him back at the rink. I mean, the rink really is, in all sports, the solace for these guys. It's kind of like, I mean, any of us. I mean, when we have issues going on in our own lives and problems and fears and worries, that sometimes delving into work is a good way to get your mind off of it. And you've just seen this last week, Devin being back with the boys, quote unquote, has made him smile and laugh and take his mind off the stresses of what's going on back home when he's not with them at the rink and is probably in his hotel room and things like that. So, I just think it's good to get him back for the game. And the other thing, I impress upon Wild fans that he's been off for 5-6 weeks to, I just could not believe the vitriol on Twitter last night when he had the puck handling mishap that led to the first goal. Still, it's up to Dumba to get rid of that puck off his stick and not turn it over. I get that he put Dumba in no man's land, but this guy's been away from 6 weeks. He's not dealing with real game situations like this. Give him a little break here. I mean, somebody was tweeting me last night when he was giving up goals in the third period. Looks like we have a goalie controversy. Let's chillax for a while. He's their number one goalie. He still, I'm sorry, needs to be in the NHL over Capo Kakkonen. Kakkonen is a young 20-something guy that needs to be in Iowa playing games. His job is not to be thrust into the NHL and give an average 4.5 goals a game every night, the way that he did the last 2 games. His job is to be down there. Devin Dubnyk is the number one goalie on this team. Alex Stalock is going to push him. And if Devin continues to struggle, maybe Alex is going to get a lot more games because Alex has really done a great job this year. But these are the 2 goalies on the Minnesota Wild, and fans need to just give him a break a little bit and understand that regardless of what he's going through off the ice, if this was an injury, you can't expect him to be completely sharp last night. It was, that is one reason why Bruce Boudreau was so upset with the team after the first period when they gave up 17 shots and asked Dubnyk to make some unbelievable saves, which he absolutely did to keep that deficit at 1-0, is that he really worried that Devin would tire in last night's game. And in the third period, maybe that is what happened. So, and regardless, he made a couple brilliant saves in the third to help them win that game. So, I'm not here to protect Devin Dubnyk and be an apologist, but my God, I just could not believe the way that fans were reacting. And by the way, these are the same fans that gave Josh Harding a Bronx cheer in his debut after Backstrom was pulled against Edmond several years ago. So after what he was dealing with. So let's all chillax and realize that these people are human beings.
That's the best Russo rant we've had in a while. That was good.
Yeah.
I agree completely.
I haven't even gotten to something that's going to tick me off yet.
Well, let's try.
The Josh Harding thing was probably inappropriate, but that was still one of the lowest points in Wild history. Josh Harding in his first game after being out with MS, I get fans are upset. They had to win the final game of the 12-13 season, beat Edmonton to make the playoffs, and it forced them into a, quote, Game 82 win that they had to win in Colorado the next night to make the playoffs. But Nicholas Backstrom's pulled in the first period. Josh Harding comes in and gives up a goal, and then the next one that he stops, they mock cheer. Are you kidding? It's one of the lowest moments in Wild history.
I will not argue with you. I will transition to thank Fixology Repair, fixologyrepair.com. Great place to buy watches, buy gifts, get those gifts fixed, fixologyrepair.com.
Hi, this is John with Fixology Repair. For the better part of a decade, we've been privileged to serve you for all of your jewelry, watch, and smartphone repair needs at the Mall of America. Since Minnesotans largely hate going to the mall, we expanded 2 years ago to reach you in the Minneapolis Skyway. And now this year, we're pleased to announce we have a new location at Wells Fargo Place in the St. Paul Skyway. All 3 shops are equipped to help with your watch and cell phone repair needs on site, while all jewelry, computer, and game consoles will be completed at the Mall of America store. Please bring us your repair challenges, and don't forget to mention the Talk North podcast for a 10% discount on all of our services.
All right. We don't always get to a ton of Twitter questions when we do our live show, so let's hit some now. From Davis Bailey, has the Wild's improved recent form, the seeming development of the younger players, and Boudreau's willingness to play them more improved the chances of him being re-signed, or does it strictly depend on him making the playoffs?
It's such speculation, early. but I it's like I just tweeted about how, or I tweeted last night how he moved into 22nd in NHL history in regular season victories, And he's got the third highest points percentage in NHL history for coaches that have coached more than 540 games. Now, it's a little skewed, obviously, with Cooper and Boudreau because of the overtime loss, shootout loser point that Scotty Bowman didn't have the benefit of, who's number one in that list, obviously. But still, I mean, the job that he's done this year to keep this team afloat, you got to give him credit. And so, look, just like Billy Guerin can't determine his path for this franchise based on this 1 month blip, just like he couldn't with the first month blip, we got to let this play out for the rest of the year. So there's a lot of hockey still left to go. A lot of times we always want to react to what's going on exactly right now. It's a good thing Billy Guerin didn't do that in the first month of the season, or we could see no Eriksson Ek or Fiala or Donato on this team right now, frankly. Maybe even Brodin. I mean, he had some tempting potential trades that he could have made that he resisted in the first month, and I bet Wild fans are very happy they didn't do those right now. And so, same thing here. Anything can change. I talked to Tom Curvis about this yesterday on another podcast that I do. That basically, the one biggest task by management right now, Tom Curvis, Billy Guerin, Chris O'Hearn, Matt Sells, his whole staff, is to determine what is the real Wild, and it's going to be even harder right now because of the injuries. Because you just don't know if the first month was the real Wild, if this last month was the real Wild, or just a big tease. Then how do you ascertain everything? Because they're devastated by injuries right now. It's a big thing, and so we got to let this play out. And that goes with Boudreau as well. I mean, I think he's done a masterful job. Obviously, selfishly, I think all Wild fans know I don't want to lose him. But it's probably way too early to say, and I still think this team at a minimum would have to make the playoffs to bring him back, but we'll see.
Interesting. From Patrick John, perhaps too early. This is your favorite kind of question, Michael. Perhaps too early, but what are the expansion draft implications with Soucy's emergence?
Big. I mean, it absolutely is. It's an issue. I mean, if the roster is what it is right now, you have Suter with a no move, and you have Jared Spurgeon with a no move, and you can only protect 3 defensemen. So that leaves, again, based on the roster that you have now, that leaves your other 3 big defensemen being Soucy, Brodin, and Dumba that you're going to have to pick from. Now, most likely in the next 2 years, whether it's Brodin or Dumba or somebody else, I mean, there's potential that one of them's not here. But right now, it's obviously an issue.
It's easy to endorse Tony Hoagland because he handles my insurance and he handles Michael Russo's insurance. Hoaglund, Tony Hoagland. Google Tony Hoagland State Farm. It'll pop up, and we can highly recommend Tony as a guy and as an insurance agent.
Hi, Talk North listeners. I wanted to let you all know about State Farm's new program called Quotes for Good. We partner with local nonprofits to raise money for great causes. For the Russo-Souhan show, I'll be donating $16 to the Jason and Carly Zucker Give 16 campaign that benefits the University of Minnesota Masonic Children's Hospital. When you call in, be sure to mention the show so that we can track the donations. You can reach us at 763-421-4900 or check out our website at champlininsurance.com.
From Brian Foster, Wild are much better at scoring on odd man rushes this year. What are your thoughts, Michael?
Yeah, I mean, they are. At the beginning of the year, though, they weren't. Giles Farrell, who does a bunch of GIFs on Twitter that I always joke works for The Athletic because we just kind of snag his stuff and throw it in my gamers just to give people video evidence of what I'm writing about. He always does a string of things that's actually kind of funny. He strings together all the Wild's missed odd man rushes. I think he started this last year, a couple of years ago, and he was doing it to start this year, and suddenly he's not doing it anymore because they've been great off the rush. And so, it all comes down to skating. It comes down to shooting too. I mean, if we saw the last odd man rushes that the Wild keep on scoring on, it's because the guy leading the rush is the one scoring, shooting the puck. And so, last night, Ryan Suter did a great job to hustle, create a 2-on-1 on the one Donato goal. It probably got Kemper thinking that Donato was going to pass the puck, even though if you look at the replay, that Kemper actually didn't cheat left. But I'm sure in his mind he's thinking, I got to get over there if he's going to pass it. And Donato whipped it home. And if you looked at Donato's the shooter. Like I would, if he passed to Ryan Suter and the Wild didn't score on that, I think fans would have gone nuts. And there was a game, it was in Chicago the other night, where Donato did get an odd man rush down the right side and tried to pass, and it was broken up. And then obviously all heck broke loose in that game. So I think it was a Chicago game. So, I just think it's great that they're shooting the puck, and that's what Bruce Boudreau has been impressing upon them for a long, long time. They practice odd man rushes every single practice for as long as I've covered this team.
Given that you're in Phoenix, I kind of blew it on the most important question of the day. Did you get an immense suite with your private pool?
No, I got a really nice hotel room, but not a big suite. Very disappointing.
Oh, it's really important, Michael, to have a second bedroom that you don't use and have a pool that you don't use.
It's so true. I remember last year I just booked a trip yesterday for the Edmonton-Vancouver, the father-son trip at the end of February that the Wild are going on, or right before the trade deadline, in fact. And I booked this one hotel called the Douglas. It's unbelievable. It's right by the rink there. It's attached to the JW Marriott's Marriott property. And last year, I'm not kidding you, they gave me a suite that was probably 3,000 square feet, and the only thing I was in the office and the bedroom. But I want that suite back. I even already wrote him a note. I'm like, any chance I can get that same suite that I didn't use 3/4 of? So,
well, my wife and I, we went to Seattle for the Viking game. We went out early, and we were there on Thanksgiving, I think, because there weren't many people traveling. They gave us the presidential suite, and the view was fantastic. We see everything in Seattle from our window. The view is unbelievable. But we didn't use anything but the bedroom and the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's like there were two huge rooms we just walked through. We didn't do anything there.
Yeah, the only time I've really taken advantage of a gigantic suite was when I got the presidential suite at the Tampa Waterside, which is now called the Water Street. I can only imagine how many hundreds of thousands of dollars I did to rebrand this hotel by changing the word side to street, but whatever, that's another topic. And that was the one because I think we were there 2 or 3 days. I had a couple buddies sleep in one of the bedrooms that came in from Jacksonville. Actually one of them, Drew McCain, the golfer. The Canadian Tour this year, and his buddy. And then, I had a poker tournament on the big grand dining room table with the broadcasters and Andrew and his buddy. We used the patio outside. So it's like the one time that I've actually taken advantage of a gigantic suite on the road when I've gotten a gigantic suite where I felt like, all right, this was money well spent. Not my money, of course.
Enough lifestyles of the rich and famous. Let's go back to Twitter. Justin Wiggins, how much coffee is too much coffee? Another question, unrelated. What is a healthy amount of heartbeats per minute?
I don't know. One day I'm going to learn what's not the healthiest heartbeats per minute.
I think coffee's good for you. Yeah. From Ralph Wiggum, beat writer question. If you're covering your beat and you notice something happening outside your beat, like a GM meeting a player agent or another GM, do you tip off a colleague covering that beat or follow up on your own? It's a really good question. I have an answer for that too.
Yeah, I can tell. Two that just popped in my head is when I watched Doug Armstrong hiding at XL Energy Center. I let Jeremy Rutherford know at the time he was at the St. Louis Post-Dispatch that I thought something was up, and they traded for Bouwmeester that night. And then another one that I thought of, we were at the Ottawa Westin during the draft a couple years ago, and right in the open, Oren Koulis and Len Barry were interviewing Brian Lawton for the GM job, and I let the Tampa writers know, and Brian Lawton became the GM of the Tampa Bay Lightning. It was right in the open in the restaurant at breakfast. Hopefully Lawton listens to this podcast and hears this and can tell me if I'm misremembering this. But I've never seen two owners interviewing a GM in front of the media at the draft. I mean, that the entire, all media people do is eat. So at breakfast we're going to take advantage of the breakfast, and right in the middle of it, Brian Lawton's being interviewed for the GM job. It was hilarious. I did let the Tampa writers know that. I
do have to defend the media. Sometimes we drink as well. It's not always.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And sometimes we get the presidential suite and do nothing in it. So, I'm older than you, and I started covering. What was your first year covering pro sports?
It depends if you include running quotes for AP, but that's
when's your first year as a beat writer?
95.
Okay. Yeah, my first year as a beat writer was 89. And back then, writer networks were a big deal because nowadays, if somebody sees something, they might just put it on Twitter, or blog it. Back then, everybody was playing for the morning paper, and there were no Insta scoops.
Yeah.
So many, when I covered the NFL and when I covered baseball, you had a buddy in every city that you would correspond with. And your first instinct when you saw something was to tip off your buddy in that other market.
Yep, exactly. And then the other thing is I used to be in a notes pool with 30 other beat writers, one from every market. Yep. And every Thursday or Friday, we'd share the best notes of the week for our team. And that's how we put together our vast notes pools. I even
Sunday
did this,
notes,
probably, yeah, my first, I did it my entire career down in Florida when I was writing 80-inch Sunday columns. I mean, I ran into somebody the other day. I can't remember who it was. It was somebody big in the league too. And he was telling me like, yeah, I used to read all your, God, who was it? Oh, you know who it was? It was Jeff Chikrin, Jacob Chikrin's dad, was telling me, I used to love your Sunday notes pool. And a lot of times it was just literally you're just pulling stuff from friends of yours, because that was back also when there was really no internet. So you didn't know what was going on in Edmonton or Vancouver. So we had these notes exchanges, and it even continued my first 3 or 4 years in Minnesota. And then slowly but surely, when newspapers started to shrink and nobody was writing Sunday columns anymore, it got to be like 4 or 5 of us. And then it was just lame. And then it just suddenly just died.
Well, the other thing is that if somebody has a good note now, they tweet it out.
Exactly.
Back then,
yeah.
and listen, I'm not a Luddite. I enjoy modern technology in many ways, but there was a charm to either picking up the morning paper or picking up the Sunday paper and having all these notes and kind of getting a present. I mean, would you rather get a Christmas present at Christmas morning, or would you rather get like a piece of the puzzle once a week? I mean, there is something about delayed gratification and picking up a Sunday paper and having 80 inches. Like I used to write those too. On baseball and in football. There was something really cool about Sunday morning, opening the paper and having just all these cool notes that you were unaware of until you read it.
Well, how about back in the day too, when you'd open the Sunday newspaper and you'd see the stats for all the leagues,
right?
Because there was no other way. So like, oh, that's who's leading the league in RBIs. That's who's leading the league in completions. It was. I mean, that's how you did it. I used to sit there every Sunday. I would go into. That's how I got my start. I'd go into the Sun Sentinel building. I was like 16 years old. And I'd sit there on a Sunday and answer calls from high school coaches in the league. And I put together this gigantic 1-page, probably 150 inches of just agate of stats of top performers, and put together a high school page that would run then 3 days later. So on Wednesday, you were doing the stats for every football team or basketball team or baseball team in the county, and in the 2 counties, Broward and Palm Beach County. And you were putting it together. And it was still running 3 days outdated on Wednesday, and that's how people learned about what was going on. It was hilarious. But one other note on tweeting notes, it happened to me last night. So I was telling when Garland was scratched for the Arizona Coyotes, I was standing with Craig Morgan and Kat Silverman, our 2 Arizona Coyotes writers for The Athletic, and that's when the news came that Garland wasn't playing because of an injury. So Morgan tweeted it out, and I said to them, I'm like, Boudreaux had a really funny quote about Garland this morning. You want me to give it to you? And Kat's like, yeah, I'll give it to you. Give it to me. And then instead, what I did is I just tweeted the quote and just figured, all right, Kat and Craig will take it off the quote. It was like, I didn't even go to the courtesy of emailing it or direct messaging it to him. I just to me, it was such a funny quote. I just tweeted it before the game for them to take.
Yeah, the world has changed, no doubt about it. Let's thank Tin. I want to hit a few more Twitter questions, and we're going to let Michael go. Do want to thank Tin Shed. The next show is December 30th, 7 p.m. Check out tinshedmn.com. If you go there, you will see their menu. You will see recent additions to the menu. You will see deals they have. 2-for-1s, buy one, get one free, happy hours. They have a lot of happy hour deals. And you'll also have coupons. You can go there and get coupons, and you'll know just how good a deal you'll get. And they have a million TVs. They have video games, pinball. It's a blast. The place is a great place to hang out if you're a sports fan or if you know a sports fan. So check out tinshedmn.com for more information. It's very convenient in the Southern Metro. So Twitter questions.
And again, the next live show is December 30th at 7
December 30th at 7 p.m. Yes, sir. From Chris Hammer, there's a story in The Athletic about Dr. Schott. It seems the Bruins have bought in. Aside from Donato, are there any other Wild players that work with them?
I think Coyle did, I believe, back in the day. I wrote something on his Schott doctor years ago. So,
and the other part of the question is, should players work with a Schott doctor?
All these players have multiple coaches on the side that help them with the different skills. It's just the new age of the NHL. I remember when Parisi was sort of one of the first ones in the league working with Adam Oates, and the Wild absolutely flipped out and felt like it was the biggest, egregious, disrespect and ever to the coaching staff. And now every single player has got everybody from personal trainers to skills coaches. I was talking to a player the other day. It was just shooting the breeze, so I don't want to say the player or who the guy was sending the stuff to. But he told me after every single game, he gets an email from somebody in hockey with all his shifts, breaking it down. And so that's just the world that these NHL coaches have to deal with. Is sometimes goalies are that way as well. I mean, they all have their own guys on the side as well. So that's just kind of the way it is now.
Yep. I still remember Torrey Hunter. He basically didn't trust anybody in Twins organization other than like his AAA hitting coach, Bill Springman. And he would send videos to like Bobby Bonilla and stuff like that. I mean, it's easier to do now.
It worked. Bobby Bonilla is still getting paid from the Mets. So
he's a financial genius.
Yeah.
From Justin Caesar wears pants sometimes. Was that nice run just a bizarro world version of the Wild's annual slump, or is this actually sustainable?
What's the guy's Twitter name? Justin Caesar.
It's very involved. It's Justin Caesar wears pants sometimes is his Twitter handle, and I still read it. I don't know what it means. I'm sure it's the clever handle. I just don't know what it means.
Yeah. Again, the question was if this was
basically saying, is this run a mirage, or is this team actually have a chance to
I don't know. I mean, they've been one of the best teams in the league since early November. And even if you remember that road trip out to California where they went 2-2, they played great on it. Frankly, they should have won the game in San Jose, and I think they would have won that game in San Jose had there not been an absolutely bogus 5-minute major and Ryan Hartman in that game. Look, I mean, they're playing well. Whether or not that makes them a cup contender when you're going up against teams like Colorado and Vegas, I would say doubtful. I mean, to me, those are still the two classes in the Western Conference. But everybody else is right there with the Wild. I mean, there's a lot of mediocre teams in the world. Mediocre is the wrong word. There's a lot of similar teams in the NHL this year. A lot of I mean, look at Nashville. I mean, they're just been beyond up and down. They're getting really mediocre goaltending. San Jose fired their coach, getting mediocre goaltending. These are teams that I think if going into the season, you'd look at the Wild and say these teams are better than the Wild, and yet the Wild are right there with those teams. And, I mean, I'm sorry, Arizona, even with Taylor Hall, is a beatable team. Now, the Wild have beaten them 3 times of their 13 losses. The other night in Chicago, the Wild should have won that game. They were doomed in by still a superstar. I mean, that team is Patrick Kane and nobody else right now. And Patrick Kane killed the Wild that night. Look, the game in Vegas the other night, they're shorthanded. Unfortunately, the injuries caused Bruce to completely blow up the lines that I frankly still second guess. And they still almost won that game. So, look, they're playing well for a while now.
Absolutely. This is a really interesting question, the kind of question I ask a lot. From Cody Kobernick, what's your opinion on toughness or grittiness? There's a wide split between fans. Some fans think it's mugging people in front of the net or after the whistle. Others think it's blocking shots and battling in the corners. For me, it's the latter. What do you think?
Yeah, well, I agree. I mean, last night's the perfect example of a gritty win. Okay, you have obviously the huge hits by guys like Cunnin and Foligno in the game, but you have Zach Parise just jumping in front of shots. Now, sometimes it costs him, like the one that he blocked of Chychrun, and just bad luck. Saws off his stick and then just drops in front of Chychrun again, and Chychrun scores. But to me, that's toughness. That's grittiness. It's being able to, together as a team, play for each other and sacrifice. And we see it every night with this team. And that's the one thing about the Wild, whether they frustrate the heck out of you or not, you can't second guess. They work their butt off every single night, which is pretty impressive for a team that should be sponsored by the AARP. And the other thing that they do is they are willing to throw their faces in front of any damn. How many times a game do we watch Zach Parise, Luke Cunnin, Ryan Hartman just throw their bodies in front of this? Not to mention, obviously, the Spurgeons and the Suitors and the Susies and the Brodins and the Dumbas. This team plays that tough way. Now, are they going to? What happened with England the other night, the reason why it was so shocking is that we just don't see it anymore. This is not the age of Darian Hatcher and Chris Pronger and Rob Blake and Adam Foote where you can kill somebody in front of the net. So England did something that we saw back in the day. What triggered me was the fact that I know that Eric Staal is dealing with an issue right now on his neck and his arm. And so that's why he was hurt. He wasn't flopping. And the other thing about the GIF that I tweeted, which I wish that I tweeted a different one, is that I only showed one little snippet of the GIF where there was a lot going on there for about 20 seconds. And at a minimum, even if you don't think that it was violent cross-checks, or even if you're the referee that thinks that potentially Eric Stahl is embellishing, at a minimum, it's interference. I mean, the Wild are pressuring in the offensive zone and can't get their one of their top goal scorers off the ice, planted in the slot face first because he's being cross-checked there by Derek Englund. It should be a penalty. So, to that moron that tweeted me, I mean, there was some schmuck that night that made me explode, that tweeted something here. I'm going to find the tweet. Listen to this idiot, okay? This is what you've petitioned for, Russo. No tough guys, a soft team. If Reeves was on the Wild, it wouldn't happen. You can't have it both ways. Now, first of all, isn't it? It's a little irrelevant if Reeves was on the Wild. I mean, Reeves isn't on the Wild. They've never gotten to him, so I don't even know. So like, it's totally irrelevant if Reeves is on the Wild that this wouldn't happen. And the other thing is, when have I ever petitioned for the Wild to not have a soft team? The only thing I've ever said is that this is not the day and age where there are heavyweights anymore in the league, and there aren't, unless Blue Collard, who's no longer, by the way, following Russo hockey, unless this moron is not watching the league or only watches the AHL where there are still true heavyweights, he does not realize that stuff does not exist. And Ryan Reeves, by the way, is not a true heavyweight. The guy plays the game. Okay, that's what makes him so effective, is that Ryan Reeves is not just your normal fighter. He goes, he scores goals, he hammers people. He's a lot like Marcus Foligno. Maybe actually Ryan Reeves is a poor man's Marcus Foligno, because Marcus is one heck of a penalty killer and plays, a regular shift and things like that. But that stuff doesn't exist anymore. So what we saw the other night with Englund was an aberration. That's not something we see every night. This is not the Wild of 2, 3, 4 years ago that is getting run around and abused on a nightly basis because they're a soft team. They play the game hard, and Foligno showed it last night. And Foligno's willing to fight anybody. So, they're trying to win the game the other night in Vegas. Foligno didn't decided that he wasn't going to go and fight Englund. That's his prerogative. I didn't watch enough shifts to even see if they were on the ice together a lot. And so that's the reality. But I petitioned for nothing. Did I call the guy a moron enough?
I think you should do it one more time.
Yeah. Hopefully, though, hopefully you continue to listen to the Russo-Souhan show and hopefully, Blue Collar, you frequent our sponsors.
So I want Twill and Grey Duck Vodka and Tin Shed and Fixology and Tony Hoagland to watch out for Blue Collar. He's going to be buying your product soon, just because he loves Michael Russo so much. That's the way this works.
One day I'm going to be walking down the street in St. Paul or Minneapolis and just get clocked by somebody I blocked on Twitter or trashed on a podcast. Probably deservedly so.
Yeah, and Tony Hoagland can help you with that. And TSR Injury Law, who sponsors the Krasinski show, they can help you once you're banged up.
Yeah. It's just, I don't know. Twitter lately is just dry. I just can't believe somebody said something yesterday to Carly Zucker. Not even the one that I went after. It was just somebody else. And I'm just like, where do these people exist? And you obviously know you're an absolute asshole because you are anonymous on Twitter. You don't have the guts to have your real name and your real picture. So you're called like something like NHL oriented or whatever the hell this guy was called. And you just go after the person. Like I just don't understand the lack of humanity that exists when people, it's like people just get in front of their keyboard, and I hate the word troll, but it's like they just don't realize that this is real life, that you're talking to somebody that's actually a real human being, and you're saying stuff hurtful that you would never go up to them on the street and say to their face. It's just amazing. So, and I'm sure I'm a hypocrite too when I go after people on Twitter. But usually, by the way, I'm the one triggered to do it. It's not like I just out of the blue go after somebody. But I just it's just amazing. Like, I really do think that Twitter, Facebook should have some sort of recourse where everybody has to be public. It is your real name, your real face. There should be I know this is a free country, but it should be a privilege to use these sites and not have all these bots and all these just nasty human beings that want to have anonymous accounts and just absolutely go after people in the most mean, vindictive ways. So, and Blue Collar is a moron still.
All right, we're going to let Michael go have a gallon of coffee and calm down.
I think I need a shot of like Goldschlager or something.
The reality of everything we do, columns, writing for The Athletic, podcasts, whatever we do. The reality is it's not always going to be great. We know that, right? But I will say your last 2 shows have been fantastic. You're killing it. I appreciate you killing it for Talk North. And we'll see everybody at Tin Shed in Savage on December 30th at 7 o'clock. Come out and troll Michael and get him rolling. This is great stuff.
By the way, have we mentioned before we go that our producer's car was stolen for the 25th time?
Good Lord, we didn't even get to that. So Brandon Morton, our longtime producer, has had his car stolen, I think, 18 times in the last couple of weeks, something like that. Actually, I think it's 3 times in the last 2 months or a year. I don't know. So I don't know what to make of this.
I think he leaves the keys in the driver drawer with a big sign that says, I got a huge bag of money sitting in the back seat or something. Like, how is it possible?
Of course, Brandon doesn't really participate in the show. He doesn't really want to be associated with us, so he's not going to answer that question.
He's probably just steaming right now in the background. Like,
well, he also has control. He also controls.
He could easily cut this stuff out.
So nobody's ever going to hear this section of the show. So if you want to rip, blue collar, you can do it right now, and it'll be a free shot.
Yep. I think I'm done with blue collared.
All right. Hey. Happy holidays.
I'm sure he's a really nice guy, though.
Happy holidays to Michael. Thanks for doing such great work for the network. I think we're going to have a really big year in 2020 across the network. Follow us at Talk North Pod for the developments as they come out. Thanks, as always, to Brandon Morton. We hope like if he gets in a lift, the lift doesn't get stolen while he's in the lift. But sincerely, thank you to everyone who's listened to the network and has made it successful. We do appreciate it. We appreciate you, except for blue collar.
Pretty little city built on a hillside. Music in the bars and fire in the sky. We went to the beach and it was covered in ice. And I used to call it home. So much coming out, there's nothing going in. I know that you feel like you're never gonna win. Oh, but the world won't forgive a winner.
All right, perfect.
So yeah, feel free to cut that out.
Nah, it's not a big deal. It is what it is at this point. But no keys were in there. It was totally locked and it was parked under a streetlight. So I did the things I'm supposed to do.